Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Musey's Modern Dreadfuls. And today we are on part 2 of our new miniseries, Me, Mizell, and Inspector Hole in the Face by Reddit user hyperobscura. And away we go. Mizell knew he'd screwed up. And in an attempt to appear chivalrous, he scurried in front of me, shielding me from potential harm. Not that it did any good. Freddy threw him aside like he wasn't even there, and a moment later, I was on the ground, the air knocked out of me by Freddy's gut punch. "That'll teach you," Freddy said, spitting on the ground. A rustle in the leaves pulled my eyes away from him. If I weren't more or less incapacitated, with my lungs still struggling to catch up, I would have screamed as I stared into the hollow crevice of Inspector Hole in the Face's face. He was just there for a split second, but that image is still etched into my retina. A gaunt figure peering at us from behind a tree. The gaping chasm in the middle of his face like a perpetual abyss staring back at me. "Stay away from this part of the forest, freakerson," Freddy said, "or I'll really mess you up next time." He kicked some dirt in my face and stomped down the trail, laughing. When I looked back at the bush, Inspector Hole in the Face was gone. I lay there coughing for minutes, with Mizell desperately trying to lift me back onto my feet. "Did you see him?" I murmured at last. "Did you see him in the forest?" "See what?" Mizell gave me a perplexed stare. "The chupacabra?" Mizell helped me get home to the best of his ability, but we couldn't beat the darkness this time around. On the way down, I told him what I'd seen in that bush, and I could immediately tell that he didn't believe me. He didn't outright say it, but it was readily apparent if you knew his face. "It's true," I demanded. "A man with a hole in his face." "I believe you, Sarah," he lied. "It was so dark. How can you be sure?" "I'm sure," I pouted. "I know what I saw." He nodded hesitantly and embraced me in a long hug. It was our usual bedtime routine, but there was never anything romantic about it, even though I did keep a photo of him on my nightstand. We were friends, best friends, as close as you can get, an unbreakable bond, destined to stay intact until the end of our days. Or so I thought anyway. I didn't sleep very well that night. The image of Inspector Hole in the Face always haunting the periphery of my dreams. I got up around 2 a.m. and drew his face to the best of my ability. Did I really see him? I kept asking myself, staring at the drawing. Or was it just a figment of my imagination? Mizell was on the doorstep when I woke up, as usual. But I guess he must have noticed that I was a bit tired and grumpy, because he was uncharacteristically careful in his approach. "Let's go to the quarry today," he said matter-of-factly. Purcell doesn't know about the stone hut. Yeah, sure, I said, trudging along absent-mindedly. Hey, Sarah? Mizell gave me a concerned look. About the whole thing with your brother. We didn't talk about my brother. No one talked about my brother. He was 5 years older than me and had died 2 years earlier in a car accident. What was so weird was that everyone seemed to pretend like it had never happened. I didn't understand that. Why would they want to forget him? It's fine, I feigned a smile. Forget it. Freddy's a total moron anyway. I punched him in the shoulder hard enough for him to wince, and we ran laughing all the way up to the old haunted quarry. Whatever worries on our mind, now but faded memories. The quarry had been abandoned for as long as I could remember. Thus, nature had claimed most of it back, but the stone hut remained, a formation of massive boulders placed haphazardly to form a small, cave-like hole underneath. Mizell found it last summer, and we'd come here every once in a while to drop off supplies and to decorate our makeshift base of operations. We had a couple of lawn chairs, a ramshackle old wooden table, some cans of soda, a stack of old comics, assorted snacks, and a radio that never worked because Mizell always forgot to bring batteries for it. Did you remember to bring batteries this time? I asked mockingly. Shucks, Mizell chuckled, slapping his forehead theatrically. I always forget. We messed around in the stone hut for hours, drawing maps on the stone walls with sticks, planning our next expedition, picking out on snacks, before slumping down on our chairs for a brief rest, enjoying the silence of the place. It didn't take long before I heard the sound of them. Vague at first, like it was miles away, then louder and louder until I was convinced it was right outside the hut. Do you hear that? I whispered. What is that? I had a hard time trying to identify the sound, but it was eerily familiar, varying between a long, metallic screech, discordant and unpleasant, and a softer creaking noise, like a door on rusty hinges slowly opening. Hear what? Mizell shrugged. The chupacabra? Seriously? I gave him a stern look. You don't hear that? It wasn't deafening, but it was loud enough to echo through our hut. How could he not hear it? Shh! I shushed him and quietly slipped out, sneaking stealthily between overgrown boulders of all different shapes and sizes, until I suddenly found myself face to face with the macabre shape of Inspector Hole in the Face. He was standing at the end of a long corridor of boulders, his harrowing figure at least twice my size. He was dressed in nothing but brown and green rags, dirty and faded, and for the longest while, he just stood there motionless. The impossible depth of the hole in his face, like a swirling maelstrom. I couldn't move, eyes lost in the abyss of it, heart pounding ever more frantically. Mizell soon joined me, tugging gently at my sleeve. "What's going on?" he asked calmly. "What are you doing?" "Don't you see him?" I whispered, pointing at the figure. "Stop fooling around, Sarah," he peered at me quizzically. "There's nothing there." And with that, that's part 2 of me, Mizell, and Inspector Hole in the Face. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope to give you a longer section next time. I'm enjoying the story too much. Don't want to give it all away at once. No, I'm not gonna. You know what? We're gonna cut off here and get this out to you as soon as possible. Look out for the collab. It will be coming on Dr. Creepin's channel. And also, look out for the collab. It's already up of me on my brother's, brother, my bro's channel, Hood Horror. He wanted me to talk on some conspiracies against the Native and Indigenous peoples of America, and that's already posted, so check that out. I will also ask for a card to be put up so you get the link to that video. It's very good. And again, you'll find that on Hood Horror's channel, the one I did Hot Boy Summer with. In the meantime, Yippy-Ki-Ya, Musey lovers. I will see you very soon with part 3. Have a good one.